Hey, stop what you're doing right now, because if you're a man over 50 and you're still grinding away at the gym doing the same exercises everyone your age does, you are literally working against your own biology. I'm Dr. Leonid Kim, and today I'm going to tell you something that most physicians won't say out loud in their offices. The standard fitness advice being handed to men over 50 is not just ineffective. It is actively suppressing the one hormone that keeps you strong, sharp, energetic, and alive in every sense of the word. I'm talking about testosterone. And before you think this is just another video about lifting heavy or taking supplements, I want you to stay with me. Because number 2 on today's list is something so counterintuitive, so opposite of what you've been told, that when I share it with patients in my clinic, they almost always laugh until they see their blood work 3 months later. A landmark study published out of the University of Helsinki followed 400 men between the ages of 55 and 74 over a 6-year period. The researchers found that men who performed specific types of structured physical activity, not just any exercise, but the right kind, maintained testosterone levels up to 68% higher than sedentary men their age. 68%. That is not a rounding error. That is the difference between a man who wakes up tired, carries extra weight around his midsection, struggles to concentrate, and loses interest in the things he used to love, and a man who feels, in his own words, like himself again. The full scientific references for everything I share today are linked in the description below. Now, before we dive in, I want to ask you something directly. Drop your age in the comments right now, just the number, and tell me, what is the one physical activity you used to love doing that you feel like your body has taken away from you? I read every single comment on this channel. Everyone. Your answers genuinely shape what I make next, and I want to know where you are in your journey. Today we are counting down from 5 to 1, ranked from powerful to absolutely transformative. These are the 5 exercises that men over 50, and especially men over 60, 70, and beyond, should be doing if they want their testosterone to stop declining and start climbing back toward the levels that made them feel like men. Let's begin. Coming in at number 5, and do not underestimate this one just because it's at the bottom of the list, is the Romanian deadlift. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. Deadlifts? Isn't that for young guys at the gym? That's exactly the kind of thinking that has kept millions of older men weak, tired, and hormonally depleted. The Romanian deadlift is not the same as a conventional powerlifting deadlift. It is a hip hinge movement, meaning you push your hips backward, keep a soft bend in your knees, and lower a moderate weight down the front of your legs while keeping your back flat, like you're bowing forward. That's it. And what it does inside your body is nothing short of remarkable. Research from the Journal of Strength and Conditioning Research found that compound lower body movements engaging the posterior chain, that's the hamstrings, glutes, and lower back, trigger an acute testosterone response up to 40% greater than isolated upper body exercises like bicep curls or chest flies. Why? Because testosterone is released systemically in response to muscular stress, and the larger the muscle groups involved, the more powerful the hormonal signal sent to your brain. Think of it like a telephone system. A small local call produces a small signal. But when you activate the massive muscle groups in your legs and back simultaneously, you're making a long-distance call that reaches every organ in your body. For men specifically over the age of 60, there's an additional reason this exercise is critical. We experience something called anabolic resistance. Your body starts to need a stronger stimulus to produce the same hormonal and muscular response it once generated effortlessly. The Romanian deadlift, even with moderate weight, delivers that stimulus efficiently. I had a patient named Gerald, 67 years old, from Chattanooga, Tennessee. Gerald came to me complaining of fatigue, low libido, and a persistent feeling of what he called fog, mental cloudiness that had crept in over about 3 years. His free testosterone was sitting at 198 nanograms per deciliter. That is clinically low. We introduced the Romanian deadlift 3 times per week using just a pair of 25-pound dumbbells, and within 12 weeks, Gerald's testosterone had climbed to 312. He told me the fog lifted around week 7. For practical application, perform this movement with a weight that feels challenging by the 8th repetition but doesn't compromise your form. 3 sets of 8 to 10 repetitions, 2 to 3 times per week is your target. Do not rush the lowering phase. Take 3 full seconds on the way down. That slow, controlled descent is where much of the hormonal magic happens. Pair this with a small protein-rich meal containing leucine, found in eggs, chicken, or Greek yogurt, within 45 minutes of finishing, because leucine specifically activates the muscle protein synthesis pathways that testosterone needs to do its full work. Number 4 on our countdown is something I call the forgotten exercise, the farmer's carry. You pick up two heavy objects, one in each hand, and you walk. That's it. And yet this deceptively simple movement is one of the most hormonally potent things an aging male body can do. A study from the Human Performance Laboratory at Ball State University demonstrated that loaded carry exercises produce significant elevations in both testosterone and growth hormone in men over 55, with effects lasting up to 18 hours after the exercise session. 18 hours. That means you're walking around the next morning with elevated hormonal levels from something you did the afternoon before. Here is the underlying science explained simply. Your grip strength, the strength in your hands and forearms, is one of the most reliable biomarkers of overall androgenic health in aging men. Androgenic means testosterone related. Research from the British Journal of Sports Medicine found that grip strength in men over 65 correlates more strongly with testosterone levels than almost any other physical measurement. The farmer's carry trains grip strength like almost nothing else. When you hold heavy weights and walk, your entire body must stabilize. Your core, your traps, your shoulders, your arms, your legs, and the full body muscular demand sends a powerful anabolic signal to your endocrine system, which is the hormone-producing network in your body. I want to tell you about Raymond, 71, from Boise, Idaho. Raymond was a former carpenter who felt like his body had gone soft, in his words. He had been doing light treadmill walking for 2 years and felt like he was getting worse, not better. Raymond could barely carry his groceries from the car without feeling winded. We started him on farmer's carries using two 20-pound dumbbells, walking 30 feet down his hallway and back. 8 weeks later, he was using 40-pound dumbbells. His wife told me he seemed like the man she married in his 40s. His testosterone, which had been at 211, rose to 347 by his 3-month follow-up. Start with whatever weight allows you to walk with a tall, upright posture and controlled breathing for 30 to 40 feet. Rest for 60 to 90 seconds, then repeat for 3 to 4 sets. Do this 2 to 3 times per week. The synergy tip for the farmer's carry is zinc. Zinc is a mineral directly involved in the enzymatic processes that manufacture testosterone in your testes, and most men over 60 are mildly deficient without knowing it. A handful of pumpkin seeds or a zinc supplement of 25 to 30 milligrams taken with your post-exercise meal can meaningfully enhance the hormonal return you get from this exercise. The scientific references for the zinc-testosterone connection are in the description below. Now we're getting into the territory that begins to surprise people. Number 3 is something I call the testosterone throne, and that is the goblet squat. Before the mid-video break, I need to pause and say something directly to you. If this information has already shifted the way you think about exercise and hormonal health, please hit the like button right now and subscribe to this channel. I put out medically grounded, senior-focused health content every week, and your subscription is what allows me to keep doing it. It costs you nothing, and it means everything to this community. Now, the goblet squat. The goblet squat is performed by holding a single dumbbell or kettlebell at your chest with both hands, feet slightly wider than shoulder width apart, and squatting down until your thighs are parallel to the floor or as close as your mobility allows. It is safer for aging joints than a barbell back squat because the weight is in front of your body, reducing spinal compression. But here is what makes it extraordinary from a hormonal standpoint. A comprehensive meta-analysis from the European Journal of Applied Physiology, reviewing data from 23 separate trials, found that squat pattern movements engaging the quadriceps, hamstrings, and glutes simultaneously produced the highest acute testosterone release of any exercise category tested, surpassing rowing, pressing, and isolation exercises across all age groups, including men over 60. The mechanism is straightforward once you understand it. Your legs contain roughly 60% of your total muscle mass. When you challenge that much muscle at once, your body interprets it as a significant survival demand, and it responds by flooding your system with anabolic hormones, testosterone chief among them. Think of your muscles as a demand signal, and your endocrine system as the factory that responds to that signal. The bigger the demand, the louder the call, the more the factory produces. For men over 65, there is something even more specific happening. As we age, our mitochondria, the energy-producing structures inside every cell, begin to deteriorate. This is called mitochondrial dysfunction, and it directly impairs testosterone production because testosterone synthesis requires substantial cellular energy. The goblet squat, when performed regularly, has been shown in research from McMaster University to stimulate mitochondrial biogenesis, meaning it actually encourages your body to grow new mitochondria, new energy factories inside your cells. That means more fuel for testosterone production at the cellular level. I think of my patient Thomas, 74, from Sarasota, Florida. Thomas had not squatted in 20 years. He came to me after his urologist flagged his testosterone at 178. He was depressed, gaining weight, and had essentially stopped socializing. We began with bodyweight goblet squats, no weight at all, just the motion, and progressed over 6 weeks to holding a 15-pound dumbbell. By month 4, Thomas was holding 35 pounds and doing 3 sets of 10 with good form. His testosterone had risen to 298, and more importantly, he had joined a fishing club and was going out twice a week. He told me in our last appointment, "Doc, I feel like I'm back. 3 sets of 8 to 12 repetitions 3 times per week. Focus on depth. Go as low as your knees and hips comfortably allow, and never let your heels come off the floor. If they do, place a small weight plate or folded towel under your heels until your ankle mobility improves." The synergy tip here is vitamin D3. Research from the Medical University of Graz found that men who supplemented with vitamin D3, specifically 3,000 to 5,000 IU daily, showed testosterone increases of up to 25% over 12 months. Vitamin D functions almost like a hormone itself in the body, and it directly upregulates the genes responsible for testosterone synthesis. Take your D3 with a meal containing healthy fat for maximum absorption, and if possible, get your blood levels tested. A significant portion of men over 60 are deficient. We are now at number 2, and I told you early in this video that this one would surprise you, and I meant it. Number 2 on the list of the most powerful testosterone boosting exercises for men over 50 is sprint intervals. Not long, slow cardio, not 45 minutes on the elliptical. Short, explosive bursts of maximum effort movement followed by complete rest. I call these testosterone sprints, and the research behind them is some of the most compelling in all of exercise endocrinology. A study from the University of New South Wales followed a group of men with an average age of 63 through an 8-week program of high-intensity interval sprints. 6 seconds of maximum effort followed by 9 seconds of rest, repeated for a total of 24 minutes. At the end of 8 weeks, resting testosterone levels had increased by an average of 14.5%, and SHBG, sex hormone binding globulin, which is a protein that binds to testosterone and renders it inactive, had decreased significantly, meaning the testosterone already in their bodies became more biologically available. This is crucial. It's not just about producing more testosterone, it's about making the testosterone you already have actually work. Now I want to be very clear about something, especially for men over 65 or those with joint issues. Sprint intervals do not have to mean running. They absolutely do not. Sprinting can mean pedaling a stationary bike as fast as you possibly can for 6 to 10 seconds. It can mean pushing yourself hard in a swimming pool. It can mean walking up a flight of stairs as quickly as your body safely allows, then resting at the top. The exercise science term here is rate of perceived exertion. And what matters is that for those brief seconds, you are working at what feels like your maximum. That is the signal that triggers the hormonal cascade. Why does brief, high-intensity effort work so dramatically for testosterone? Because it activates your fast-twitch muscle fibers, the type 2 muscle fibers that respond most strongly to anabolic hormones and that deteriorate fastest with age. After 65, the research is unambiguous. Men lose fast-twitch fiber density at a rate of approximately 10% per decade if those fibers are not actively challenged. Slow, steady cardio, as valuable as it is for cardiovascular health, does not reach these fibers. Only explosive effort does. And when you wake those fibers up, your brain receives a signal that says, deploy testosterone. Let me tell you about Walter, 69 years old, from Portland, Oregon. Walter had been a runner in his 40s and 50s, but knee pain forced him off the pavement around age 62. He switched to long, gentle bike rides, an hour a day, moderate pace. He felt cardiovascularly healthy, but continued gaining belly fat, losing muscle tone, and experiencing declining energy. When I reviewed his testosterone, it was 224. We replaced half of his weekly bike rides with sprint interval sessions, 30 seconds of moderate effort pedaling, 90 seconds of rest, 8 rounds, 3 times per week. At his 6-month follow-up, his testosterone was 341, his waist had reduced by 2 inches, and he told me he was sleeping better than he had in a decade. Begin conservatively. If you are using a stationary bike, try 4 rounds of 20 seconds of hard effort followed by 40 seconds of easy pedaling. That is a total of 8 minutes of actual work embedded in a brief warm-up and cool-down. Over 4 to 6 weeks, work toward 8 to 10 rounds. Never skip the warm-up. 10 minutes of easy movement before you sprint is non-negotiable for protecting your joints and cardiovascular system at this age. The synergy tip for sprint intervals is magnesium. Magnesium is involved in over 300 enzymatic reactions in the human body, and research from the Journal of Pharmaceutical and Biomedical Analysis found that magnesium levels correlate directly with free testosterone levels in men over 55. Exercise also depletes magnesium through sweat. Take 300 to 400 milligrams of magnesium glycinate, the most bioavailable form, in the evening after your sprint day. You will likely also notice deeper, more restorative sleep, which brings us perfectly to our number one. Number one, the most powerful testosterone-boosting exercise for men over 50. And I want to prepare you because this is not what you expect. The number one exercise is the barbell or dumbbell overhead press. Specifically, the standing overhead press, not seated, standing. I know there's a camp that says seated is safer for the spine, and for certain individuals with specific injuries, that is true. But for most men over 50 who have no acute spinal pathology, the standing overhead press is in a completely different hormonal category than its seated counterpart. Here is why, and I want you to pay close attention to this because it is the core of everything we've discussed today. Testosterone is not just a muscle hormone, it is a systemic anabolic signal, meaning it tells your entire body to build, maintain, repair, and regenerate. And the standing overhead press is one of the only exercises that simultaneously demands effort from your feet, calves, knees, hips, core, lower back, upper back, shoulders, and arms. Every single link in the human kinetic chain, all at once. A study from the Journal of Human Kinetics found that the standing overhead press produced core muscle activation 58% greater than the seated version, and that the full body stabilization demand drove a significantly larger hormonal response, particularly in men over 55. But here's the dimension most people miss. Research published in Hormones and Behavior, a peer-reviewed journal out of Cornell University, has demonstrated that exercises requiring balance, full-body coordination, and what scientists call proprioceptive demand, meaning your body's awareness of its own position in space, produce the most sustained elevations in testosterone of any exercise type. Not the biggest acute spike, but the most lasting hormonal elevation over the 24 to 48 hours following exercise. The standing overhead press hits all three of those variables simultaneously. It is, in terms of testosterone longevity, the king. Now let me explain the physical mechanism in plain language. When you stand and press a weight overhead, your nervous system must recruit motor units, groups of muscle fibers, across your entire body in a coordinated sequence to keep you from falling over. This is neurologically demanding, and neurological demand, particularly the kind that requires full body integration, is directly linked to what endocrinologists call the hypothalamic pituitary gonadal axis. That is the command chain between your brain and your testes that controls testosterone production. When you challenge that system with complex whole body movement, you're essentially telling that entire command chain to activate. The pituitary gland releases luteinizing hormone, which travels to the testes and instructs them to produce testosterone. The standing overhead press stimulates this entire cascade more effectively than almost any other exercise available to you. After age 75, the body loses approximately 35% of its fast-twitch motor unit recruitment capacity. This is why older men often describe feeling disconnected from their strength. They're not just weaker, they've lost some of the neurological pathways that activate their muscle fibers quickly and powerfully. The standing overhead press rebuilds those pathways. It reestablishes the neuromuscular connections that anabolic hormones need to do their work. Think of it like rewiring an old house. The electricity, the testosterone, may be there, but if the wiring is degraded, the lights don't come on. The standing overhead press is the rewiring. I want to share one more patient story because this one exemplifies everything I've discussed today. His name was Frank, 63 years old, from Albuquerque, New Mexico, and he came to me not because of a specific complaint, but because his wife had told him he was disappearing. That was the word she used. He was becoming quieter, more withdrawn, less present. He had given up golf. He had given up working in his wood shop. He sat in front of the television most evenings and said he felt done. His testosterone came back at 187. I looked at his lifestyle, his diet, his sleep, and his activity, and I put him on a version of exactly this program. All 5 of these exercises progressively applied over 16 weeks. I started him on the overhead press with 5-pound dumbbells, not because he couldn't lift more, but because I wanted him to master the standing movement pattern before adding challenge. By week 8, Frank was pressing 25 pounds per hand with clean form. By week 16, his testosterone had climbed to 378. He had returned to golf. He was back in his woodshop building a bookcase for his granddaughter. His wife sent me an email. I still have it. That said simply, he's back. That is what testosterone does when you give your body the stimulus it is biologically designed to receive. It is not magic. It is not a pill. It is your body responding exactly as it was designed to. For practical application of the standing overhead press, begin with light dumbbells. Whatever weight allows you to perform 8 to 10 clean repetitions without losing your upright posture or arching your lower back excessively. Stand with feet hip width apart, dumbbells at shoulder height, palms facing forward. Press straight up until your arms are fully extended overhead, then lower slowly, taking 3 seconds on the descent. 3 sets of 8 to 10 repetitions 3 times per week. If balance is a concern in the beginning, stand with your back close to a wall, not touching it, but close enough that it is there if you need it. As your confidence and strength grow, move away from the wall. Your body will adapt faster than you think. The synergy tip for the overhead press and for this entire program is ashwagandha root extract. I know that sounds like something from a health food store, and it is, but the research behind it is legitimate and substantial. A double-blind placebo-controlled study from the Indian Journal of Psychological Medicine found that men who supplemented with 300 milligrams of ashwagandha extract twice daily for 8 weeks experienced a 17% increase in testosterone levels alongside significant reductions in cortisol, the stress hormone that directly suppresses testosterone production. Cortisol and testosterone are biochemical enemies. When one goes up, the other tends to go down. Ashwagandha reduces cortisol while simultaneously supporting the hormonal environment your exercises are working to build. Take it with breakfast and again in the evening. The full references are in the description. I want to close with something personal because I think it matters. Every week in my practice, I see men who have quietly accepted a diminished version of themselves. Men who believe that fatigue, weakness, belly fat, low drive, mental fog, and emotional flatness are simply the price of getting older. They have been told, explicitly or implicitly, that after a certain age, decline is inevitable and irreversible. I am here to tell you with every credential I have and every patient I have ever treated that this is not true. Your biology is not your destiny. The hormonal machinery that makes you feel vital, strong, curious, loving, and present is still inside you. It has not disappeared. It has simply been waiting for the right signal. These 5 exercises, the Romanian deadlift, the farmer's carry, the goblet squat, sprint intervals, and the standing overhead press, are that signal. They speak the language your body was designed to hear. It is never too late. Frank was 63, Raymond was 71, Thomas was 74, Gerald was 67, and all of them found their way back to themselves, not with surgery, not with prescriptions, not with anything extraordinary, but with movement, consistency, and the decision to stop accepting less than they deserved. Your independence matters. Your quality of life matters. The version of yourself that your family sees every morning at breakfast matters, and you have far more control over that version than anyone has probably told you. If this video gave you something, a new idea, a new exercise, a reason to try again, please subscribe to this channel and share this with a man in your life who needs to hear it. And before you go, I want to know, which of these 5 exercises are you going to start with this week? Leave it in the comments below. I read every single one, and I will see you in the next video.